Welcome to Patscast. I'm Brad Whitaker. As we get closer to the NFL draft, the quarterback conversation is heating up on who the Patriots will take at number 3 overall. Is it going to be Drake May? Is it going to be Jaden Daniels? Is J.J. McCarthy part of that conversation? Might they trade back or prioritize a different position at number 3 and take one of the quarterbacks later in the draft? Well, something that I think we should consider is who is going to perform well under pressure. Now, I think that is a silly statistic to some people, but to others, we had a guy named Tom Brady who was not the most athletic quarterback, didn't win the most MVP awards, but he could perform under pressure, come through in the clutch, and was a real leader in the locker room. And we all know what he did in New England, winning 6 Super Bowls and a 7th in Tampa Bay. So we need to think about who are the type of players that, with the game on the line, 1 minute left, 2 minutes left, down by 6 points, you're confident putting the ball in his hands to drive the team down the field and ultimately win the football game. And Football Scout 365, a reporter by the name of Brandon Lundberg, heavy analytics guy, really broke this down in a way where he ranked what is perceived to be the top 7 quarterbacks in this year's NFL draft by something that we don't typically measure. And that is, he is looking at these quarterbacks and throws that go beyond the sticks, third down with at least 5 yards to go. He also considered fourth down data as well. Now, these are passes that are not dink and dunk passes where the running back or the receiver catches the ball 3 yards downfield and runs for a first down. No, these are throws that go beyond the sticks, go beyond 5 yards on those third and long situations. And he has a statistic that he calls PAA, which is points added per play ranking. So he's ranking all of the players on third or fourth down throws past the sticks of 5 or more yards to go. And I'm going to start with the 7th player listed here on this list. And it may surprise you. And I'll tell you why I should take at least this player with a grain of salt at first, because I've been higher on him than most, and I still am very high on him. But when it comes to these types of clutch moments, third and long, he does not rank well among all of these quarterbacks. And that number 7 player is Drake May out of North Carolina. He ranks 0.344 PAA per play, which ranks him at 69th nationally across all of college football. That means the 6 players that are expected to also go in the first 2 or 3 rounds of this year's NFL draft are ranked ahead of him. Now, Drake May is going to be a first-round quarterback in all likelihood. In all likelihood, he is going to be drafted in the first 3 or 4 picks. Very good chance he goes to the New England Patriots. But when it comes to these clutch situations, he does not rank very well. Now, I would take this with a grain of salt, and I will get to this a little bit more at the end of the podcast, saying that Drake May has performed a lot in the clutch with his legs. He's had a few moments. Go watch the highlight reels against Duke where he's come through, and he doesn't have to do it all with his arms. But in these situations, he ranks near the bottom of those top 7 quarterbacks. Number 6 on the list, Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington. Now, this came as a bit of a surprise to me because Penix has come through in the clutch. At least I perceived it that way this past college football season. I look at the 2 games he had against Bo Nix in Oregon, which really came down to the wire in the regular season and in the Pac-12 championship, where he had the edge over Nix down the stretch and was ultimately the quarterback that won them the game. But he ranks just ahead of Drake May, 68th nationally, a .345 PAA per play. Again, I'm going to reiterate, these are throws that are at least 3rd and 5, 4th and 5, that go beyond the sticks. He does not convert on those as well as some of these other quarterbacks that are listed ahead of him. Number 5 out of South Carolina is Spencer Radler, who ranks 24th nationally at .599 PAA per play. And that is notably higher, right, than Penix, who was 68th, and Drake May, who was 69th. So you're starting to get into that conversation a little bit where, Radler did not have a great offensive line. He had one receiver, Xavier Legette, who's expected to be drafted probably in the second or third round this year, but still not near the top of the list. He's about where you would expect him to be. Then we go on to number 4, and that's Jaden Daniels out of LSU, who ranks one spot ahead, 23rd nationally and 4th on this list of .60 PAA per play. And then let's go on to number 3, Caleb Williams. A big leap here. Even though he's number 3 compared to number 4, that puts him at 5th nationally. He's up to .87 PAA per play. Really converts a lot of those plays, but the next 2 guys are ranked ahead of him. But that is a pretty big leap from Jaden Daniels from 23rd in college football all the way up to number 5th for Caleb Williams. So we're getting into the cream of the crop here on players who can perform in the clutch and make those big 3rd or 4th down throws with Caleb Williams. Number 2, big surprise to a lot of people, was a surprise to me, although I like the guy, Bo Nix. Ranked 3rd nationally and 2nd on this list of the top 7 NFL quarterback prospects in this year's draft at .96 PAA per play. Now, Bo Nix can play. Like, I know he is the only quarterback in this draft that is getting letters from the AARP, but he can do everything with his legs. He has a good arm, pretty accurate. Really, every time I've watched him play, I've been very impressed. Saw him go against Shedeur Sanders, and, Sanders probably didn't have the weapons that Bo Nix had around him, nor the protection, but he clearly outplayed Sanders in that game and has really improved leaps and bounds every year throughout his college career, particularly after he transferred from Auburn to Oregon. But that leaves number 1, a guy who I've been kind of jumping on the bandwagon a bit this last week, and that is J.J. McCarthy, who not only is the number 1 quarterback prospect on this list in terms of PAA and converting on 3rd and 4th down on throws that go beyond the sticks of 5 yards or more, he is 1st in all of college football with a 1.06 PAA per play. And this may surprise some people, but it does not surprise me. How often did we see J.J. McCarthy come up with big plays like he did in the Rose Bowl game, college football semifinals against Alabama, like he did against Washington in the national championship game, like he's done the last 2 seasons going up against their rival, a team that took him forever to finally surpass Ohio State. Michigan was leaning on him a lot more later in the season than they were earlier in the season. Yes, they have a decent O-line. Yes, they have Roman Wilson at receiver. They have one of the best running backs in college football. But when it came to those situations where teams knew that, hey, this is 3rd and long, Michigan, a run-heavy offense, is going to be forced to throw on this play, J.J. McCarthy has come through more than just about anyone else, converts on about roughly 70% of those plays, and it's something that you have to consider. We look at all of these quarterbacks and we compare their physical traits, how elusive they are in the pocket, and how much they fit into the modern NFL. But J.J. McCarthy has that it factor. He is clutch, and he is the type of guy that I would certainly trust over all of these quarterbacks with the game on the line, having to drive his team down the field, running the 2-minute drill. He's a guy that I think is ready and able to handle the hits and bounce back, and that is something we did not see from Mac Jones these last 3 seasons. Mac Jones looked great as a rookie, but the moment he didn't have the weapons, the moment that offensive line began to break down, he was not the same quarterback. J.J. McCarthy is tough. He's always been able to bounce back in adverse situations, and certainly he was in some adverse situations in the Rose Bowl game against Alabama, threw a near pick on the first drive of the game, and made clutch play after clutch play down the stretch in a back-and-forth game that ultimately brought Michigan to the national championship, and they ran away with it against Washington. Now, I am not saying J.J. McCarthy is the best quarterback in this draft. This is a clutch comparison. We're comparing specific stats, 3rd and long, 4th and long, but he is the best in those categories. And I still think Caleb Williams is the best quarterback in this draft. He fits that Patrick Mahomes prototype. You watch him in good situations, you watch him in bad situations, you still say, this is the most talented guy out there. He should be number 1 overall. But the Patriots are probably not getting him, right? The Bears aren't trading that pick. He's not dropping. He will be off the board. But any of these other 6 quarterbacks are potential options. And I'm going to get back to Drake May because he ranks at the bottom of this list, which does not look very good. And if you watch Drake May in some of his highlights or his non-lights, whatever you want to say, when he goes on the road to Clemson, to tough environments, and has to play those teams with a noisy crowd, he often struggles. And yes, he didn't have the best offensive line, but this is something you have to take into consideration. When the going gets tough, how is he going to perform in New England, a team that is rebuilding and is probably a couple seasons away from really having the resources for him to thrive? Is he going to be able to thrive, or is he going to take such a back seat in year one? You know, he'll probably outplay Jacoby Brissett in training camp, which means Gerard Mayo has a decision to make. Do I start him or do I still sit him, even though he is clearly the more talented quarterback? It's going to be tough for him. And that doesn't mean Drake May doesn't have a lot to offer, right? Probably the strongest arm in the draft. Can make throws off schedule perhaps better than any of these players. Maybe not Caleb Williams, but he's up there. And can throw off balance. Has the most size. He's the tallest. Has the widest frame. Is not the fastest, but can be mobile. Can run QB sneaks. Can run on 3rd and 10 and be a few yards short and still find a way to get that first down in the same way we see from quarterbacks like Josh Allen. There is a lot Drake May has to offer, and that's why I would still be very excited if the Patriots drafted him. But this is a concern. So, look, Drake May has the arm, he has the frame, he has the size, but he has some red flags. Jaden Daniels, who I haven't talked a lot here, has the mobility, has the athleticism. He wins in those categories, and he's pretty damn good in the pocket for a mobile quarterback. He's got a couple inches on Lamar Jackson. Yes, he has a skinny frame, but he was much better throwing in the pocket, probably a stronger arm, probably more accurate than Lamar Jackson was when he came out of Louisville. So if Jaden Daniels is available, he's a consideration. And J.J. McCarthy, even though he doesn't fit the mold of those 2 other players, he's got the it factor. He's got the moxie. He's got the chutzpah, if you will. And I know that's not something you can really measure, but this is a direct way of measuring it. I encourage you to read this article, which breaks it down by Brandon Lundberg, Football 365 Scout. I will drop it in the description to make sure he gets credit where credit is due. And read it. It really breaks down the analytics and how he measures these statistics and how he got to these specific rankings. And when you look at it, 3 most clutch players in college football among these top 7 quarterbacks are J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, and Caleb Williams. And Patriots aren't getting Caleb Williams in all likelihood. But hey, I've been an advocate of the Patriots drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. so we can forget about this number 1 wide receiver and have a guy that we can be confident in for 4 to 5 seasons on a cheap rookie contract. If Bo Nix is available, whether you have to trade back into the late first round or he's available in the second round, it's not the worst case scenario. And I know he's up there in age compared to these quarterbacks. He'll be 25 years old next NFL season, which compared to like 21-year-olds that are in here like Drake May is a little bit worrisome. But he's also a guy that's shown that he can improve year after year, especially when facing adversity, which he certainly did at Auburn. A lot to consider here. I'm not saying that is the ranking of the best quarterbacks, but clutch matters. How you come through is ultimately what defines you as a starting quarterback. It defined Tom Brady because he came through time and time again in those clutch situations. You ask anyone who has half a brain of all the quarterbacks in NFL history, with the game on the line, 1 minute left, you need to drive the team down the field. They're going to say Tom Brady is number 1, probably Patrick Mahomes number 2, especially with what he recently did in the Super Bowl. But Brady has the edge on Mahomes because he beat him twice in the biggest games. You have to think about this stuff. You have to think about it. Maybe you don't overthink it because you're weighting certain categories more than others, perhaps more than you should. And this is just one way of looking at it. But the more I think about J.J. McCarthy, the more I like the guy. And hey, if the Patriots think he's going to go like 5th or 6th and have the number 3 pick, and they have an ability to trade back just a couple of picks and acquire more draft capital, and they know they're going to be able to snag J.J. McCarthy there, even if they have to give up on Drake May or Jaden Daniels, well, then you have a real decision to make, because you can get McCarthy, and then maybe you had the ability to draft one of the top 5 or 6 tackles, or you can get A.D. Mitchell somewhere in the mid to late first round and get another real great receiver, and then you can still, I don't know, you can still grab Bo Nix later on. Like, there's so much that they could potentially do, so many ways you can slice it. But right now, at least according to the report yesterday, it seems like the Patriots will stay at number 3. J.J. McCarthy is moving up the boards. So we'll see what happens there, if the Patriots buy into that, or if it's just smoke, it's lying season. People are floating things out there to get the most value they can in return in case they want to trade a draft pick or something like that. Now, just a quick topic here of some news that broke today. According to, who is it? It is Karen Garegian of Mass Live, talking about Stephon Gilmore, who obviously was a probably top 5, top 10 NFL cornerback with the New England Patriots, was perhaps the reason they were able to win that last Super Bowl against the Los Angeles Rams, made the game-winning interception. We know all that he contributed to that Patriots defense. We know this is a good defense as of right now, but one piece that they are really missing is that corner opposite of Christian Gonzalez. And Stephon Gilmore is testing the market. He has not re-signed with the Dallas Cowboys. And as we saw this past season, he's still got a lot of juice left. And according to Garegian of Mass Live, a source told them the veteran corner was open to all options, including another go-around with the Patriots. Now, what does this mean? What would the Patriots have to pay for a corner like Stephon Gilmore? Wouldn't be cheap, but also, considering he's up there in age, I don't think it would be that expensive either. And Gilmore is coming off of a season where he ranked, according to, I think this is a PFF ranking, he was 37th among all NFL corners in the league. At least he was the 37th ranked cornerback, and that puts him in the top 20 percentile, top 25 percentile, because there are 125 starting NFL or not starting corners, but something along those lines. So he's like 37th out of 125 NFL cornerbacks. That's good enough to be the top guy on bad defenses, and certainly good to be the number 2 guy on good defenses. And the Patriots have a good defense. So I would love to see him back. I think he would not only contribute to that defense, help shut down some of these weapons-heavy teams. We just saw the New York Jets sign Mike Williams. They're loading up this offseason. Aaron Rodgers now has Tyron Smith on the left side. They're going to have more time to throw the ball. You're going to be able to need to defend those really top teams. And yeah, I know it hurts to say the Jets are a top team, but as of right now, assuming everyone stays healthy, which is a major assumption, you're going to want a guy like Christian Gonzalez, opposite of like Stephon Gilmore, opposite of Christian Gonzalez, who can also serve as a mentor to Gonzo, who really looked to be the best defensive rookie in the draft right up until he got hurt in that road game against the Dallas Cowboys. Didn't get a great look at him, and the defense still performed well the rest of the season. The issues were all offense for the Patriots. But having a guy like him is a real difference maker, especially once you consider you're going to have an offense that's really going to struggle to put up 20-plus points a game this year. I think they're going to be better simply because I think the offensive line has more depth to it. I think some of the guys that they signed as backups are going to be better, even if you're losing out on Trent Brown. Sounds like as of right now, a core of 4 will be starting at left tackle. They got Kendrick Bourne back. I like KJ Osborne. I like that signing. Demario Douglas, Hunter Henry, Austin Cooper. But that still is not a weapons-heavy offense. So if you have Jacoby Brissett out there or insert rookie name quarterback, they're still going to struggle to put up 20 points, which means you're going to have an elite defense, play like an elite defense. And Stephon Gilmore and probably a free safety is the missing piece at this point to give the Patriots a shot against whomever they play, because that defense will be good enough to potentially shut down even the best offenses in the league. So would love to hear him come back. He's testing the whole market. Maybe he wants to go to a contender, but seemed to enjoy his time in New England, seems to like Gerard Mayo, and certainly knows the guy, has worked under him before. So I wouldn't write him off right now. I think if he's looking for a destination where he can be a real leader, where he can be comfortable and really finish out his career, considering he has a lot of juice left in him, I would love to see Stephon Gilmore back on the New England Patriots, add that veteran presence to a very young roster to help mentor Christian Gonzalez and get that defense to where they need to be to stop some of these high-powered offenses and give our very mediocre, if not worse, offense a chance to win football games this year. I think the Patriots are a 500 team. I really do. And that, I know that sounds like overly optimistic considering they won 4 games last year. But that defense held many teams under 10 points this year and lost nearly all those games. And that's not a high bar for even the worst offenses in the NFL. It's just the Patriots had an abysmal one. And Jacoby Brissett, Bailey Zappi, or the rookie quarterback that they bring in, whomever you have out there, I think they're going to have a real shot to at least put up 20 points a game, especially with that defense, and give the Patriots a shot to be a 500 team. And that puts you at least in the playoff race, in the hunt toward the end of the season. And that would be something great to build off of in the second year of the rebuild, where I think the Patriots could really come back and start to contend in the AFC East. This is not a 1-year rebuild. This is at least a 2-year rebuild at this point. But Gilmore would go a long way, especially if you can sign him for more than a couple years. That would be huge for this Patriots defense and ultimately help them become one of the better teams in the NFL once again. It's going to take some time, but look, this is a patient offseason with Elliott Wolf. Taking the Green Bay Packers approach is not going to be pretty. No big splashes. He wants to build entirely through the draft. He's going to have to hit on those draft picks. And I was disappointed not getting Calvin Ridley. Was not disappointed that we didn't spend $23 million on him. I don't think he's worth that. I just would have liked to see, throw a 4th rounder at Keenan Allen if that's all it costs, or go after Mike Williams, or be willing to spend a little bit more than the Jets and a little less on incentives for Tyron Smith. I wish they had done those things, but you hit on the draft, it doesn't matter, and then you got a young roster locked up long term, and you got something to build off of for the following season. That's it for this episode of Pat's Cast. We'll be back with more Patriots coverage throughout the week. Let me know what you think about Stephon Gilmore, what you think about my clutch quarterback comparison. Do you think J.J. McCarthy is worth the recent hype, or if this is all smoke and not something we should really consider as a New England Patriot fan? It's a big question. A lot's going to happen between now and late April when the draft occurs. Will the Patriots trade back? Will there be more breaking news? We'll be here at Pat's Cast to coverage. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, share it with your friends, weigh in the comments whether you agree or disagree, and we'll be back with more coverage throughout the week.